Rain poured over the King estate as cars lined up the long driveway, headlights slicing through the misty afternoon. Inside, a team of decorators scrambled to finish the ballroom before the guests arrived. The scent of roses, candle wax, and stress filled the air. "Move that arch to the left! No, my left!" Clara Evans shouted, balancing a clipboard in one hand and a string of fairy lights in the other. Her sneakers squeaked against the marble floor. She was exhausted, but she smiled. The wedding had to be perfect. It wasn't every day your best friend got married to one of the wealthiest families in the country. Then came the sound she'd been dreading all day. Tires screeching against wet gravel, followed by the unmistakable hum of a high-end engine. Everyone stopped working for a second. The black Aston Martin pulled up right outside the grand entrance. "He's here," one of the planners whispered. Clara frowned. "Who's here?" "Ethan King, the brother." She barely looked up. "The billionaire? The one who hasn't seen his sister in, 5 years? The planner nodded nervously. "That one." Before Clara could respond, the front doors burst open. Ethan King stepped in, rain dripping from his coat, sunglasses still on despite the gray sky. Conversations died instantly. Even silence seemed to make room for him. "Someone tell me why my sister's wedding looks like a department store ad," he said, scanning the room. His voice carried authority and exhaustion. Clara didn't flinch. "Maybe because you're 2 days early, Mr. King. We're still working." He turned, caught off guard by her tone. "And you are?" "The maid of honor," she replied flatly, lowering her clipboard. "And the one keeping this circus from collapsing." A smirk curved at the corner of his lips. "Then maybe you should tell the florist to stop drowning my sister's taste in glitter." "I already did. She prefers lilies over your designer suggestions," Clara shot back. Someone coughed to break the tension. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he removed his sunglasses, revealing tired, piercing eyes. He looked at Clara again, this time less like a billionaire sizing up staff, and more like a man seeing something unfamiliar, someone not impressed by his wealth. "Noted," he said finally. "Carry on." He walked off, his assistant trailing behind. Clara rolled her eyes, muttering, "And they say money can't buy arrogance." Later that evening, as the storm eased, the rehearsal dinner began. Guests mingled under chandeliers, laughter bouncing across the hall. Ethan stood by the bar, looking detached, nursing a glass of scotch. Every once in a while his gaze drifted to Clara, who was helping the bride with her speech notes, laughing warmly. She was different. Real. "Still running the world, Ethan?" a voice interrupted. His sister Lila wrapped her arms around him. "Trying not to," he said with a small smile. "You look happy." "I am," Lila said. "And don't mess this up for me. Be nice to Clara." He frowned. "Why does everyone keep saying that?" "Because she's the heart of this wedding," Lila whispered. "And maybe she'll remind you what that feels like." Before Ethan could reply, a waiter carrying champagne stumbled near Clara. The tray tipped, liquid flew through the air. Clara jumped to catch it, but one glass slipped, spilling right over Ethan's suit. The room froze. Clara's face went pale. "Oh my God! I am so sorry!" Ethan looked down at the wet stain, then up at her panicked expression. For the first time that day he laughed. "It's fine. I've survived worse, like corporate board meetings." Clara blinked, startled. "You're not mad?" "Should I be?" he asked, handing her his napkin. "You seem more worried than my tailor would be." "I just didn't want to ruin your $1,000 jacket." He grinned slightly. "$8,000. But now it's worth something. It has character." She couldn't help but laugh. "You're ridiculous." He studied her, eyes softening. "Maybe, but you're interesting." Before Clara could respond, Lila clapped her hands. "Everyone, time for speeches." Clara moved to her place beside the bride, but she could still feel Ethan's gaze lingering. During Lila's toast, his eyes never left Clara's face. The way she spoke, how she smiled, there was no pretense. It fascinated him. After dinner, while guests danced, Ethan stepped outside for air. The rain had stopped, leaving the garden glistening. He didn't hear Clara approach until she spoke behind him. "You don't like crowds, do you?" she said softly. He turned, surprised but not displeased. "I like control. Crowds don't offer that." "You must hate weddings then," she teased. "Pure chaos." "Exactly," he replied, then smirked. "Yet here I am." "Because your sister's happy," she said. He nodded. "She deserves it. She's the only one who ever believed I could be more than just money." Clara's tone softened. "And what are you, Ethan?" For a moment he looked lost, still figuring that out. They stood quietly, the night hum filling the silence. Then Lila's voice echoed from inside, calling Clara back. She smiled, backing away. "You'll figure it out. Maybe when you stop hiding behind your bank account." Ethan watched her go, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest, something dangerous and alive. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the tall windows. Clara was overseeing floral deliveries when Ethan approached again, holding 2 coffees. She blinked, surprised. "You drink coffee, right?" he asked. She arched a brow. "Is this your apology for yesterday's sarcasm?" "Maybe," he said, handing her one. "Or maybe I just needed an excuse to talk to you again." She smirked. "You're not used to hearing no, are you?" "Not from someone like you." "And what's that supposed to mean?" "Someone real," he said simply. Clara tried to focus on the checklist, but her hands trembled slightly. "Flattery doesn't work on me." "It's not flattery," he replied. "It's honesty." She turned, meeting his eyes. "Then maybe you should practice it more often." He smiled faintly, watching her walk away again, her ponytail swinging like punctuation to her defiance. And for the first time in years, Ethan King found himself curious, genuinely curious, about someone who didn't need him to be a billionaire. But curiosity can be dangerous, especially when it starts to look a lot like longing. The wedding day was just 24 hours away, and chaos had reached its peak. Florists rushed in and out, caterers argued over the seating charts, and Clara somehow managed to keep everything from falling apart. Ethan, however, seemed unusually calm for a man whose estate was filled with frantic strangers. He lingered near the ballroom entrance, coffee in hand, watching Clara direct the chaos like a general on the battlefield. Her voice carried authority, but her eyes carried warmth, the kind that made people want to do better, not because they had to, but because she made them believe they could. "Mr. King," his assistant Ryan interrupted, "you're supposed to be on a call with Tokyo in 10 minutes. Ethan didn't look away from Clara. "Reschedule." Ryan blinked. "Sir, I said reschedule." His tone left no room for argument. Across the room, Clara caught him watching and frowned. "You don't have to hover, you know," she called out. He walked over, unbothered. Not hovering, observing. "Is that what billionaires call stalking now?" she said, scribbling notes on her clipboard. He chuckled. "I see you've been keeping up with the new definitions." She sighed, half amused, half exasperated. "You really don't have anything better to do?" "Apparently not," he said. "Besides, you're far more interesting than a board meeting." Her lips twitched. "That's a low bar." Just then a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. Clara groaned and rushed off, muttering something about amateur caterers. Ethan followed out of instinct more than reason. He found her kneeling on the tiled floor, helping a young server pick up shattered plates. "Are you okay?" she asked the server gently. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to." "It's fine," Clara said, giving him a reassuring smile. "Go grab a broom. I've got this." Ethan crouched beside her, picking up a few shards. "You don't have to do that," he said. She glanced at him. "Neither do you." Their hands brushed over a fragment of porcelain, a spark of contact that felt too brief and too charged. She pulled back first, pretending not to notice. He didn't pretend. "Clara," he said quietly, "when's the last time someone helped you?" She paused, eyes flickering to his. "I don't need help. I just need things to get done." "That's not what I asked." Before she could answer, Lila appeared at the doorway, radiant even in her pre-wedding chaos. "Ethan, there you are. And Clara, thank God, the string quartet's flight got delayed. Can you fix it?" Clara exhaled sharply. "I'll find replacements. Don't worry." Lila smiled gratefully and disappeared again. Ethan stood watching Clara's shoulders tighten as she juggled yet another crisis. "You take care of everyone," he said. "Who takes care of you?" Clara didn't look up. "Coffee and deadlines." He smiled sadly. "That's not an answer." "Sure it is," she said, walking away. That evening, after the storm of preparations died down, Clara found herself alone on the terrace. The sunset painted the sky in gold and violet, the estate glowing softly beneath it. She closed her eyes, finally breathing for the first time all day. "You really don't stop, do you?" came Ethan's voice behind her. She opened her eyes, smiling faintly. "You're one to talk." He joined her by the railing. "Fair, but I don't remember seeing stress yourself into oblivion on the job description for maid of honor." "It's called caring," she said. "You should try it sometime." He chuckled. Maybe I'm trying now. She turned to him, eyebrows raised. By lurking in doorways? By learning what matters to you, he said. His tone was gentle now, stripped of charm. You make it impossible not to notice. Clara looked away, flustered. You don't even know me. Then tell me something real, he said. Anything. She hesitated, then sighed. Fine, my mom raised me on her own, worked 2 jobs so I could go to college. I've been planning weddings since I was 21, never had one of my own, and I'm okay with that, for now. Ethan listened, genuinely listening, not waiting to speak. She'd be proud, he said softly. Clara's eyes softened. What about you, Mr. King? Tell me something real. He exhaled, looking out at the horizon. My father thought emotions were weaknesses, taught me to buy solutions, not feel them. I built an empire out of that mindset, but it's lonely at the top. She studied him. Then maybe it's time to climb down. Their eyes met, steady, searching, fragile. The air between them thickened, heavy with something unsaid. Then Lila's laughter echoed from inside, breaking the spell. Clara stepped back. You should get some rest. Big day tomorrow. Ethan nodded slowly. Yeah, big day. The next morning arrived bright and clear, as if the storm had been a rehearsal for something calmer, yet far more dangerous. Guests flooded the estate in waves of silk and perfume. Photographers darted between the gardens, capturing moments frozen in light. Lila looked breathtaking in her gown, beaming at everyone who crossed her path. Ethan, in a tailored navy suit, looked every inch the perfect brother of the bride, except his eyes kept finding Clara. She was stunning in a soft lavender dress, clipboard gone, replaced by a bouquet. When their eyes met across the crowd, time seemed to still. But reality intruded quickly. As Clara was helping Lila adjust her veil, a tall blonde woman approached Ethan with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ethan King, she purred. Still pretending you don't remember me? Ethan stiffened. Vanessa. Clara looked up from across the room, noticing the tension. Vanessa stepped closer. We had a deal, remember? You back out and things get messy. Ethan's jaw clenched. Not here. Not today. But Clara had already seen enough. The flash of guilt in his eyes, the way Vanessa's hand lingered on his arm. Lila called her name, snapping her attention back, but the moment had already splintered. For the first time since meeting him, Clara wondered if Ethan King was just another man with too many secrets. And Ethan, standing in the center of the celebration, realized the truth he'd been avoiding. The one person he couldn't afford to lose had just started doubting him. The wedding ceremony unfolded beneath a canopy of white lilies and golden light. Lila looked ethereal as she walked down the aisle, her hand trembling slightly in her father's. Guests sniffled, cameras clicked softly, and the orchestra played a melody that seemed to float through the morning air. But for Ethan, none of it felt steady. His eyes kept darting to Clara. She stood at Lila's side, radiant yet distant, her expression carefully composed. She smiled for the crowd, but it never reached her eyes. When their gazes met just once, she looked away. Vanessa's arrival still echoed in his mind. He could feel Clara's questions from across the aisle, the silent judgment, the disappointment. And for the first time in years, Ethan King didn't know how to fix something with money or control. He only knew he couldn't lose her. After the ceremony, the reception roared to life. Music pulsed through the ballroom, laughter filled the air, and champagne flowed like liquid gold. Lila and her husband spun on the dance floor, radiant and free. But Clara avoided Ethan entirely. Every time he approached, she found a reason to move, checking on the cake, the photographers, the lighting. It was easier to stay busy than to think. Finally, he cornered her near the garden doors. Clara, he said softly. She turned, jaw tight. You should be celebrating your sister. I am, but I also need to talk to you. There's nothing to talk about, she said briskly, trying to walk away. He reached out, but stopped short of touching her. Vanessa and I, it's not what you think. Then what is it, Ethan? Because from where I stood, it looked like a woman reminding you of a deal. His silence stretched too long. Clara shook her head. Exactly, he exhaled. A few years ago, I made a mistake. My company was on the verge of collapse. And Vanessa, she's a venture capitalist. I agreed to an arrangement, a fake engagement in exchange for her investment. It ended badly. She's still bitter. Clara folded her arms, expression unreadable. So you used people to protect your image. I was desperate. You were selfish, she said quietly. The words hit him harder than he expected. I'm not that man anymore. Maybe, she said, but you still live like him, trying to control everything, everyone, including me. Her voice trembled now, not with anger, but with exhaustion. I can't be one of your projects, Ethan. I don't want to be another deal you regret later. Before he could speak, she turned and disappeared into the crowd. Ethan stood frozen, surrounded by laughter that suddenly felt hollow. Hours later, as the night wound down and guests began to leave, the estate grew quieter. The moon hung over the gardens, casting silver light across the wet grass. Ethan wandered outside, jacket slung over his shoulder. He found Clara near the fountain, alone again, her shoes off, her lavender dress brushing the marble edge. She was staring at the reflection of the stars in the water. You have a habit of finding me when I least want to be found, she said without looking up. Maybe because I don't want you to disappear, he replied. She sighed. Ethan, just hear me out, he said. You're right. I've spent my life fixing things with money. It's easier to buy forgiveness than to earn it. But you, his voice softened, you make me want to earn it. Clara finally looked at him. Why me? Because you don't care about who I am on paper. You challenge me. You make me feel human again. She held his gaze, searching for cracks in his sincerity, but found none. I want to believe you, she whispered. Then do, he said. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm trying. She turned back to the fountain, dipping her hand in the water, watching the ripples distort her reflection. You're still your father's son, Ethan. You don't know how to be vulnerable. He stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. Maybe you could teach me. Their eyes met, raw, unguarded, and for a moment the world held its breath. But just as she was about to respond, a camera flash erupted behind them. A man in a suit lowered his phone, smirking. Ethan King, the man said. Didn't expect to catch this kind of story tonight. Ethan's jaw tightened. Who the hell are you? Freelance journalist, the man said, holding up his phone. Vanessa said there might be a new scandal in the making. Before Ethan could react, Clara stepped between them. Delete it, now. The man laughed. Oh, sweetheart, you just made it better. The Billionaire and the Maid of Honor, that'll sell faster than champagne. Ethan moved in, his tone dark. Delete it. The man hesitated, until Ethan reached into his pocket and handed him a check. Take it and get out. The journalist smirked, pocketed the check, and walked away. Clara turned on him instantly. You just proved my point. What was I supposed to do? Let him ruin you? You didn't save me, she said. You bought my silence. He looked stricken. That's not what I meant. Ethan, you don't even see it, she said, stepping back. Every time something breaks, you throw money at it. But not everything can be bought. Not trust. Not love. The word love hung between them, trembling in the air. Clara swallowed hard, then turned away. Goodbye, Ethan. She slipped through the garden doors, leaving him alone beneath the moonlight. Ethan stood there, the weight of his wealth suddenly heavier than it had ever been. For once, all the power, all the money, all the control meant absolutely nothing. And as the wind rustled through the lilies and laughter faded inside, Ethan King realized the truth he'd never wanted to face. He could own the world, but without her, it would still feel empty. The King estate was quiet the next morning. The wedding tents had come down, the flowers wilted slightly in their vases, and the echoes of laughter had faded into memory. Ethan sat alone in his study, sleeves rolled up, staring at a blank page in front of him. For once, his mind wasn't on stocks or profits. It was on her. Ryan, his assistant, stood by the doorway. Sir, your flight to London is in 2 hours. Ethan didn't look up. Cancel it. Ryan blinked. Cancel it? You have the merger. Cancel everything, Ethan said quietly. The company can run without me for once. Ryan hesitated, then nodded, recognizing something different in his employer's tone, something human. When he left, Ethan finally picked up a pen. For a man who negotiated billion-dollar contracts, it was strange how hard it was to write a few honest words. He started over 5 times before settling on the truth. Across town, Clara was packing up her car outside her apartment. Her clipboard and dress hung on the passenger seat, reminders of a wedding that had changed far more than she'd expected. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lila. Open quote, Leela, please come to the estate. One last thing before we leave for our honeymoon. Close quote. Clara sighed. The last thing she wanted was to step foot there again, but she couldn't say no to her best friend. By the time she arrived, the morning sun had warmed the gardens. She found Lila waiting by the fountain, the same one where everything had fallen apart. "You came," Leela said softly. "Of course," Clara replied. "What did you need?" Leela handed her an envelope with Ethan's handwriting. "He asked me to give you this. Said he didn't want to disturb you." Clara hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a letter. No company logos, no embossed stationery, just words in neat, careful script. Open quote, Clara. Close quote. "I've spent years buying silence, comfort, and forgiveness. But for the first time in my life, I'm asking without paying. You were right. I don't know how to be vulnerable, but I want to learn. I want to earn trust, not buy it. Yesterday, I realized something terrifying. I've built a world so high that no one can reach me. And then you walked in and reminded me what it feels like to be seen. If you can forgive me, meet me where this all started, the ballroom at noon. If you don't come, I'll understand." Ethan Clara stared at the letter, her heart racing. Noon was 10 minutes away. She didn't think. She just ran. The ballroom was almost empty when she arrived. The decorations had been taken down, the chandeliers dimmed. Only one thing remained, a string of fairy lights across the center arch, the one she'd argued about with Ethan the day he arrived. He was there, standing beneath them, hands in his pockets. When he saw her, relief washed over his face like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You came," he said quietly. "I read your letter," she said. "I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you." Silence stretched between them, fragile but full of possibility. Then Ethan stepped forward. "I don't have a speech. I don't have flowers, just the truth." He took a breath. "You were right. I've spent my whole life fixing things with money, but you're not something to fix. You're someone I'm terrified to lose. And if that means walking away from the empire I built to prove it, I will." Clara blinked, tears gathering. "You'd really do that?" "I already did," he said. "Ryan's taking over the merger. I canceled my flights. For once, I'm staying because I want to start something that doesn't have a price tag." Her breath hitched. "You think words will fix everything?" "No," he said softly, "but maybe actions will." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Clara froze. He opened it, but inside wasn't a ring. It was a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with a single word, real. Her lips parted. "The day we met, you told me flattery doesn't work, only honesty. So here it is. No promises I can't keep, just something real." Clara took the bracelet, running her fingers over the engraving. Her voice trembled. "You really are impossible." Ethan smiled faintly. "And yet you came." She looked up at him, eyes shimmering. "I don't know what happens after this." "Then let's find out together." He extended his hand, uncertain for the first time. She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. It was such a simple gesture, but to Ethan King it felt like everything. They stood beneath the last of the fairy lights, the soft glow painting their faces in gold. Outside, the garden breeze drifted through the open doors, carrying the faint scent of lilies. Clara looked up at him. "You know this doesn't mean you're forgiven yet." "I wouldn't want it that easy," he said with a grin. "I plan to earn it, every day." She laughed. That same laugh that had first caught his attention, bright and unguarded. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt something he hadn't known he was missing. Peace. Weeks later, the King estate was quiet again, save for the gentle sound of construction in the gardens. Clara stood beside Ethan, watching a small crew set up new benches and a modest fountain. "What's this for?" she asked. He smiled. "A community space, for weddings that can't afford places like this. Lila's idea, but I'm funding it." She arched an eyebrow. "So you're still throwing money around?" He chuckled. "No, I'm investing in something real." Clara rolled her eyes, but she couldn't hide her smile. "You're learning." He looked at her, admiration soft in his gaze. "Only because you taught me." The wind brushed through the trees, scattering petals across the stone path. She turned toward him, reaching for his hand. "Ethan? Yeah? Don't ever stop being real." He squeezed her hand gently. "Not if you're beside me." The camera would pull back now, the billionaire and the maid of honor, walking through the gardens where it all began. The fairy lights glowed in the distance, soft and eternal. And for once, the man who had everything finally had enough. Do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe.